This is probably the most important part, not only of this verse, but of life and following Jesus Christ in general. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Last Flight Show. I'm your host, Jake Klein. Joining me today is the world-traveling duck hunter, Eric Hicks. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great.
Good deal.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's been. This is part 3 of what's I believe is going to be. I didn't know how many episodes or series we were going to do in this, but I think this is going to be like a longer series. You've hunted a lot of birds.
Yeah, a lot of places. There's a lot of stories. That goes with it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the coolest things about hunting in general, even more so with waterfowl, because you get to share a lot with other people. We've talked about on other podcasts or other episodes that, when you're turkey hunting, you get to too, but normally when you're deer hunting or turkey hunting, it's either you by yourself or, one other person. Whereas waterfowl, you've got a group of guys that you may be going with. And so the stories are typically a lot better. There's typically more of them. Especially when you travel as much as you have, and hunted as many different species of birds. This is going to be an ongoing thing pretty much until we get through everything, which I think will never be never. There could be part 26 on this thing. We don't know.
You never know.
But we try as much as we can to be as unscripted as possible. With that being said, we do have 2 topics that we're going to talk about today, and that's the Oregon cackler, which Eric has brought in for us, and then an upland hunt. And so we've got a bird up here.
And that was the exact same trip, just the way it worked out.
Yep.
We got to do some upland hunting there, which turned out there's some really cool stories behind that too. So,
good deal.
Yeah.
So like I said, we try to be as unscripted as possible. So we may end up talking 40 minutes on, the cackler, and then get, 10, 20 minutes for the upland side, but that's okay. Conversations tend to be longer sometimes on certain subjects than others. So, but before we get into this episode, I'm going to go ahead and go through the verse of the week. This week's verse is Matthew 16:24. And then I'm going to read the NLT version, and that reads, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way. Take up your cross and follow me.'" And I'll break this down, into 3 parts, and as we normally do. I may not do as well of a job as Matt does, but we're going to do it anyway. So breaking that down, and the first part is, if any of you wants to be my follower, and in this, it's the invitation. It's Jesus' invitation to follow him, obviously, and that's bigger than what it reads, right? The invitation typically has to be there in order for a movement to start, right? If you're doing something that you're not used to doing or you've not done in the past, somebody has to give that invitation, and that can change your life forever. And obviously for all of us, it has that first initial invitation. And explaining that says Jesus offers a choice. Follow him. But it's not just about belief. It's about the living life fully committed to him. This is a personal decision with eternal weight. And then going into the second part, you must give up your own way. And I think this is probably the most important part, not only of this verse, but of life and following Jesus Christ in general. And it's the surrender. To follow Jesus, you have to let go of self-centered plans, pride, and control. It means trusting God more than yourself and laying down everything that competes with him. So we've talked about on other episodes, and then just in person in our men's group and stuff like that, when you decide that you're going to follow Jesus and you're going to walk that path, the most important thing for you to do is to surrender, right? Let your mind and your soul be open to change, because your life is going to change. You're going to have a different view on life, different feelings, but in order to make that change and that sacrifice, you have to surrender. You've got to surrender your soul, your mind, and just let the change happen. That's the most important part of anything. Not, like I said, not just this verse, but just everything in general. And then the third part is take up your cross and follow me. And this is the cost, right? There's a cost to following Jesus, and that is the sacrifice. So following Christ involves sacrifice, struggle, and sometimes pain. Taking up your cross means dying to comfort and convenience, choosing faithfulness even when it's hard. So there are sacrifices that you have to make. And one of the things is, your ego. You have to be willing to understand that you are not the man. You are not the upper. What's the word I'm looking for? You're not the bigger person, right? The bigger person serves all of us, and that is Jesus Christ. And the cost of following him may seem tough. It's going to be hard. And you may at times think, is this worth it? But as long as you do number two, which is why I say it's the most important, the surrender, once you've opened yourself and your mind and your soul to understanding what Jesus is doing, and understanding him, understanding what he brings to the table, what he gives us, what he has sacrificed for us, that makes step number 3, or part 3, take up your cross and follow me, a whole lot easier. So with that being said, we are going to move on to this episode. First and foremost, Eric, kind of go over in a nutshell before we take a break, what we're going to cover today.
So this hunt took place in Oregon. Strictly went out to kill a cackler. If I killed one bird on this trip, I was going to be happy. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go over kind of how the hunt it was initiated. It was just like with a perfect stranger. So it's kind of a cool story.
Yep.
And then, we're going to go through some of the history of, which I love those parts of the hunts, like the history and how things have come about. So we're going to go through the history of how the goose hunting kind of came about out there, and you have to go through special permits and do different things,
right?
And check birds in at the end of the hunt. It's kind of a cool deal. So we'll go through that, and then after that hunt was over, we ended up doing some upland hunting out on this amazing ranch that's just phenomenal. There's a lot of cool history out there, and the animals and wildlife out there was just amazing too.
Yeah.
So we'll just go through.
And we talked about with these stories and waterfowl, not specific to waterfowl, but there's a lot more stories, it seems, that happen through waterfowl hunting. And I think it's really cool, that we had talked about this on other podcasts too. But the difference between waterfowl and like your deer and your turkey, typically when you're deer or turkey hunting, it's either you or it's one other person, unless you've got a camera crew or a family or whatever. With waterfowl, you're most generally hunting in a group, and with that are so many stories and so many awesome memories and experiences, and I think that's what makes this series of the Ultimate Waterfowl Challenge really cool, because of the stories and memories that you were able to create while doing all of this, and these are stories and memories that other people may never have heard otherwise. Right. Some of the facts that we're going to go over today, and just the things that people wouldn't really hear,
right?
You know what I mean, or understand. So,
and most deer hunters deer hunt in their backyard, and
yes.
I don't know the percentage. Yeah. But I'd say most guys don't really travel a whole lot like whitetail hunting. Right. Yeah, some do.
Yeah,
but the waterfowl hunting is just a whole different animal. You get like we've been to Alaska and Mexico and all over, and now we're going to Oregon, and if we have time, we might jump to Massachusetts. But there's just so much to do, and it's all over the country, and you meet how many deer hunters just invite complete strangers to come hunt with them? Right. That doesn't happen.
Right.
And you get that all the time in the waterfowl world. So,
And I think it's because deer hunters and egos are like insane.
Yeah.
And they're,
And it's different too. You got one block of woods.
Well,
You're not going to just
you have
put 5 people in that little block of woods.
not only that, like you've got, if you've got one deer that you're chasing,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That
your
one buck.
target buck, yep.
Most deer hunters are not going to tell another deer hunter, hey, you can come to my woods and kill that big buck that I've been
it's not
chasing for
gonna
3 or
happen.
4
Yeah.
years. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
And unless you own a outfitter to where, everybody's coming to kill your deer.
Right.
But that's a whole different ballgame. Turkeys are a little bit different. I still think that you can have a personal level with a turkey, a personal relationship as far as the memories and the what's the word I'm looking for? Just the encounters and the history. That's what I'm looking for. The history with a bird. But with waterfowl, you may have a duck come in or a goose come in that's never going to come in again. Even if it flies over, it may never come in. You know what I mean? And if it does, you're never going to know.
And there's a lot more opportunities throughout the day.
Yes, yeah.
Constant.
And you're there and you're having conversation, you're talking, and I think that's why I like waterfowl so much. Is just because of the opportunity to make memories and stories and things like that, and just share that time with other people and
absolutely
just really enjoy yourselves. So this is part 3. We've done 2 parts already, obviously. Episode 13 was the part 1. And then the next week for episode 14 was part 2. So make sure that you guys go back and look at those. On the first one, we talked about the eiders, right?
Yeah, we did king eiders, Pacific eiders.
Yep.
So that was St. Paul Island and Adak Island. I think
Yeah.
we touched on Valdez a little bit.
Yep, a little
for
bit.
Harlequin.
Yep, we
The second
started to, and
time
then the
we-
second time we dug more into that one.
Yep, finished into that. And then we
Yep.
went to Mexico on the second one to
Yep.
Mazatlan and Orbegon and
Yep.
chased different species down there. So it's,
Yeah, so make sure that you go.
A lot of travel.
And don't just, obviously listen to them. If you're just listening to the podcast, that's perfect. Thank you very much. But if you want to see, because Eric brings the birds in, so if you want to see the birds, then go to our YouTube and watch the podcast, and you'll get to see the birds that he's talking about, which is really cool. And it's one thing to see the birds in pictures, right?
Right.
But it's a totally different thing to see, just mainly the size of these
Right,
birds.
those eiders are huge.
The eiders are a lot bigger than what I had thought.
Right.
Just by looking at a picture. This cackler, it's a heck of a lot smaller than.
Yeah, we did this earlier. You put
I
your
would've
hand up there.
thought.
They're just, you
Yeah,
put your
they're-
hand up there. They're the size of a mallard.
Yeah.
They are just tiny, tiny. Their wings are bigger, but their bodies are the same size as a mallard.
Yeah.
Just tiny birds.
So very beneficial to go over to YouTube and check that out. But with that being said, I think we're going to jump right into this episode. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back.
Welcome to the Last Flight Show, brought to you by Last Flight Calls and Gear. This episode starts now.
All right, we are back with episode 17, Ultimate Waterfowl Challenge Part 3 with the world traveling duck hunter Eric Hicks. So let's start by talking about, like, obviously this was an Oregon hunt.
Yep.
How did this all come to be? Like, were you just like looking for a outfitter, or how did it all go down?
So yes, I was looking for an outfitter, but it goes back to, I also raised Boykin Spaniels, and we've had those forever. Everybody knows Clyde.
Yeah, everybody knows Clyde.
Matt's pictures and stuff.
Yeah, yep.
So, this goes way back to 2000. I couldn't remember when this hunt took place. I think it was 2012. It could have been 2013, but it was one of the 2 years. And at that time, we had Boykins back then also, and we were on a Facebook, multiple Boykin Facebook pages.
Yeah,
And our breeder has a big page. And there was another guy on that page. He had a Boykin also, and he lived in Oregon. His name was Mark. And he was really good at photography. And at that time, I was getting into photography, and we're both putting pictures of our Boykins with, doves and ducks and geese and all this stuff on the Facebook pages. And we're always commenting and talking back and forth about pictures and how you do this and that, and just like you and Matt do.
Right.
And one day I just sent him a private message, and I said, hey, I see, his dog's name was Piper. I said, I see Piper all the time carrying these little cacklers. And I said, I know Oregon has a lot of cacklers. I said, can you put me with an outfitter out there. Do you have any buddies or any friends? And
Right.
he's like, yeah, I do. He goes, the guy that runs our duck club that he has, he goes, he guides for cackler hunts. And I said, can you give me his name? And he's like, yep. So he gives me the guy's name, and he goes, but I'll tell you what, if you want to just come out and hunt, jump on a plane, come out and stay with us, and you can stay at my house, and we'll go hunting for a few 3-4 days. He
doesn't know you from anything other than Facebook.
Yeah, we've never met,
crazy.
never talked. This is just on Messenger,
Yeah.
So I'm like, sounds good to me, and he's like, sounds good to me. So we put the dates together, and my wife, she goes, you're flying to Oregon and going to stay at a complete stranger's house. I don't know these people. You don't even have an address. You don't have phone numbers, nothing. You're like,
Right.
yeah. And it's funny because we get out there, his wife is going through the same thing. She's going, you're letting a stranger come to our house to live for this week? Yeah. But like we say in the Boykin world, those people are they're awesome people.
Yeah.
I've never met a bad person in the Boykin world. And you've known each other for a year or so on Facebook. And the people that sold us our puppy sold him his puppy.
Oh,
and you
okay.
kind of vet each other through that. It's like,
Yeah.
he was a good guy when he was out here. So,
Yeah.
So that's how it worked out. So we had that connection to start with
Okay.
through the dog worlds. And
Were your dogs related in any way, or was it just
at
a
that
Blanken
point,
Spaniel?
No, they came out of the same kennel, but they had different parents.
Different parents,
I believe.
okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
they weren't related, but
Okay.
they were same age.
Right, yeah.
Yep, both hunting ducks and upland birds, and it was fun.
No kidding.
Going out so I did not take my dog. I wasn't going to fly my dog all the way out to Oregon, but we used his dog to hunt.
Yeah.
With. So that was fun.
Yeah.
So I flew out there, and he picks me up at the airport, and we drove to his house and went out to dinner and met his wife and kids and spent the night there. And then the next morning was right into the goose hunt. So,
Wow.
but but to back up a little bit before we go out there, he's helping you out. You got to have this license and this license and this license.
Right.
And he goes, before you come, you have to do, it's called a goose ID test. And where we're going to be hunting out here, it's in the Northwest Permit Zone of Oregon.
Okay.
Of course, I've never heard of any of this.
Right.
Don't even know why it exists. But he says, he gives you the website links, and he's like, get here. And he goes, you're going to want to study for this test because it's a goose ID test. And the whole purpose is they don't want us shooting the dusky geese, which is a subspecies of the Canada. They're just a really, really dark goose. So he goes, we don't want to shoot duskies, so this goose ID test helps you identify that. He goes, here's the kicker. This goose ID test you're about to take is more of a history test than a goose ID test. He goes, it's kind of weird. He goes, yeah, there's going to be some pictures and stuff that you got to identify.
Right.
But he's like, it's a whole history of why the dusky geese are where they're at today. And he was exactly right. It was more of a history test than it was an ID test, which is kind of weird.
Do you think that, I guess if you were studying for it, like, is there something that you can do to study for? Like, do they have
so you downloaded like PDFs
class?
for like study material.
Do you think that because that they do the history, it gets you more involved in the species and more conservative when you're shooting the birds? Do you think maybe that's why they do it, or is it just...
I think part of it's just to educate the hunters on why they're doing what they're doing and why you can't shoot the dusky geese anymore, too.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, it definitely gets you more involved. But yeah, I think it's more the history helps.
Okay.
Why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
Because there's 7 species of geese out, 7 subspecies of Canada geese out there. Mm-hmm. And when we were there, like I said, the zone was to protect the dusky goose. But this zone isn't very big. If I remember right, it's like a dozen counties. And then those counties, they had like little tiny zones within the zones. So you had to really know where you were at.
Okay.
And each of those little tiny zones had a quota for dusky Canada geese. So you could kill them and you could keep them. But like some zones might have had a quota of 2. So that means like on day 1 of say 100-day goose season or whatever the goose season is out there, if those 2 birds got shot that day, it's shut down the next 99 days. Your season's over out there. So nobody wanted to shoot them.
For all geese species.
All geese, everybody, period, it's done in that little tiny zone because you hit your quota.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of serious. And guys get pretty upset, I guess, you shoot their dusky
no
geese
kidding.
and shut down their goose hunt for the rest of the year.
Goose hunt.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, the guys we were with said, if you see a goose that just decoys and comes right in, don't shoot it. because that's the Duskies. They don't get hunted.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know pressure. And they come right into the decoys. So if that happens, don't shoot. And they said the other birds are going to work and work and work and work and work. It's totally different than how we goose hunt here. Totally different. We'll get into that. But decoy spreads are different. How the birds work are different. And yeah, they said the Duskies will come in just on a string.
Really?
We never even saw one while we were there.
Oh.
Yeah, I never saw one. So
I guess that's good.
of course, I only hunted geese one day.
Right.
Yeah. we did really well that first day. But yeah, we never even saw a Dusky.
Wow.
So yeah. Like I said, that it was designed to protect the dusky geese, but then the history of it was amazing. You want to get into that?
Yeah.
So the history, the dusky goose, this goes back to 1964. There was a 9.2 magnitude earthquake that hit south central Alaska, and it was the largest earthquake to date ever recorded in North America. Second largest in the world to ever hit. I mean, it was very, very devastating to the area. So when this hit, it hit the Copper River Delta, and the quake was so violent that it caused the Delta wetland environment to upheave 2 to 6 foot in elevation.
Wow.
So it totally changed the dynamic of the landscape. And over time, that higher elevation, it just drastically altered. They call it the tidal inundation.
Yeah.
And so without that tidal inundation, basically the tide coming in and out, it can't do that anymore because you're 2 to 6 foot higher. So your tide can't come up in there anymore.
Yep.
So with that happening, all your sloughs and your meadows up in there are drying out.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So when that all dries out, you're losing your habitat. You're losing the wetland.
Right. Yep.
So the drier conditions, that reduces the salinity of the soil, and then it promotes the fresh water. It starts washing out the salinity, and then it just slowly changes that environment is what it does. And now all of a sudden, I mean, this goes over years and years and years and years and years, but now all of a sudden you go from a saltwater environment to a freshwater environment. And then all of a sudden now they got, instead of just some marsh grass out there, you got alders growing, you have willows growing, you have the Sitka spruce growing, you have cottonwoods growing.
Yep.
So your whole environment has changed, and the geese have lost a lot of their nesting area.
Okay.
So they just don't have the breeding capability they used to have. And with that environment change came predators that these geese had never encountered before.
Yeah.
Bears were coming in, wolves, coyotes, more eagles. So the predation on those nests went from 6% to 60% once those predators showed up years and years and years later. So the dusky geese has just been in a massive, massive, massive decline. And now you can't even harvest one out there. There's not even little quotas.
Really?
Yeah, from my understanding, there's no quota zones anymore. It's just fight. You can't kill them.
Are they making a comeback? Have you seen anything?
Yeah, I haven't done the research on that, but not enough to ever open it. I know that.
That's crazy.
So in Alaska, you can still harvest some. Mm-hmm. There's still enough of a population there, and I think it's a combination of the population / not very many hunters.
Right.
They still allow some guys to shoot some Duskies up there.
Yeah.
And in Valdez, where we was hunting, they actually have them. Prince William Sound is part of their breeding range, so they can harvest some there. But every time we're there, we're always there too late, and they've already migrated out. So I've never had the chance to shoot one there. But if we ever go early enough in the season, they do kill some there, and they're really cool because like this one, you can see the buff chest, but those Duskies are just, I mean, they're almost like a chocolate.
Oh, okay.
They are just so dark.
Wow.
So yeah, that ecosystem flip just really just wrecked their world.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
the
whole reason of the goose permit. So you're IDing these birds, and the guys were excited when we were hunting to shoot the big geese. And I forget, it's like I said, it's been 12 years ago. I forget what the limits were, but you could only kill I don't even remember. Say if you could kill 5 geese a day, you could only kill 2 cacklers. So they wanted you to shoot the big geese to fill out your 5 bird limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were excited to see the westerners and the taverners and some of those.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's the
So how did this hunt go down?
So that hunt went. We showed up that morning. Of course, they scout. So the guy,
Right.
So we was not with a true outfitter. But this guy just kind of guided on the side, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, he managed his duck club. So they've been scouting these birds, and these birds, this valley has a lot of turf farms, and I think they let the turf go and they collect the grass seed is what they're doing off the grass.
Oh, okay.
Well, these geese come in and they just annihilate the grass, and the farmers hate them. But they don't hate them bad enough that they're going to let you drive on the grass. They're not. You're not taking gators or anything out there. So it's a whole different style of hunting. So these guys, it's just like us. They're scouting and they're watching where the big feeds are.
Right.
And then you imagine just hiding on turf like your yard. There's no hides. It's so hard to hide, and these birds pick you out. So they're looking for the right feed that might have like a little ditch or a little slough or just something that you can get a little covered, you know.
Yeah.
So that first morning we go in and they call it a push. It's a long push, and I don't even know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've made these little carts. They're basically wooden carts with like these tiny little thin wheels, and they throw all your decoys in them, blinds, all your gears and guns. They got all these carts. Well, they take 2 or 3 guys to push these little skinny tire things.
Oh,
and you're pushing them forever and ever and ever and ever out through these fields. And it's exhausting. And I don't know why, but they use the skinniest little tire, I guess because they push easier.
Okay.
But when it gets muddy, they sink better.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So there's times there's like 2 guys pulling and 2 guys pushing, trying to get them through the mud. It was work. It was a lot of work. So we got out there, and they use all full body decoys. Those birds out there are pressured so hard. You got to have a lot of guys are using stuffer decoys out there. They're using the fully flocked, and the Dave Smith, that real high end stuff. Yeah. And I think we was using all fully flocked cackler decoys that day. And I don't know how many. They probably took 10 dozen out there with us in our blinds. There were 6 or 8 of us. So we had this waterway that had maybe like 1 foot tall grass that had kind of laid over.
Yeah.
So you was able to brush in pretty good that day. So it's just like here, you're cutting brush and you're trimming and you're stuffing your layout blinds and you get them looking right. And then I know how we set our goose decoys. The big geese land in front. The big geese we hunt around here, they don't ever fly over other geese to land behind you. They always land in the front of the spread. Yeah. These geese, they're going to circle and circle and circle, and they want to land right in the middle of the spread. Oh. So they set their decoys totally different. They more or less set like a big donut or a big zero. Okay. And these geese are going to land in the middle of that donut, so you let that hole out there. And there was water. I remember the water out in the field just from heavy rains, so there's some flooded spots, so they used that to their advantage, and they kind of let that, kind of like our geese, they like mud puddles. Right. So they let that kind of as the hole. Yeah. And so that was the setup. And then that morning, he told me, he goes, you've never shot one and you want this bird for your quest. He goes, I'm just going to kind of whisper to you, kill them. And he goes, I'm going to let you set up. And when your gun bangs, he goes, then we'll all come up. And he's like, you make sure you kill one before any of us, then you killed your bird. Right. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, no kidding. Not a lot of guys are going to do that.
No kidding.
So the morning came and the birds started coming off the roost, and they fly in just massive flocks. It's not like ours where they'll come 12 or 20 at a time. Right, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many was in that flock, maybe 200. It was a great big flock of birds and just crazy loud. And, of course, they're using higher pitch calls. Right. And all of us were just calling like crazy, and these things just start circling and circling and circling. They're just trying to pick out any bit of danger. And then all of a sudden, there's one bird just breaks out of the flock and just angel wings starts coming down. And then they all start following, and they just let them start landing on the ground and piling up on the ground. And, half the birds are still in the air. Mm-hmm. And he goes, kill one. And I just set up real slow out of my blind, and I don't even think they saw me set up. I just set up real slow, and I picked one out and just folded him. And then they all came up, and it just erupted, and there were just birds falling everywhere.
That is crazy. Yeah. How many flocks did you have come in like that?
Not many that day, just 2 or 3. Really? But
there's so many.
There was so many, yeah. We was just raining them out. Yeah. And they were pretty close. They were 30, 40 yards would be like the farthest. So I would say they were 20 and 30 yard shots. Really? But they were just, like I said, birds on the ground, some hovering, some still coming down. Yeah. So it was pretty, wow. It was very exciting. No kidding. And then you just got birds everywhere, and they got dogs running, and we're out picking up birds. So, yeah, he's a little tiny dude. I mean, they don't even sound like geese. They're just high pitched, like squeaking, like these little squeaks. Yeah. And we did.
Do you have to use like special calls, like, or is it just like
they just use like
we have our headliner is a little bit higher pitch. Would you use something like that?
Yeah, like our fear maybe tune nose up a little higher.
Yeah.
Use the fears, and then they just have actually like just any call that's going to have your short barrels on them, that you can just tune a little higher pitch. That's what they're using, and they're just hitting them real fast. Just calling real hard, not the big long deep honks like we're using.
Right.
Yep. And you could definitely pick out some bigger birds in some of those flocks. So everybody was trying to target those, and but yeah, we killed a bunch of cacklers, and I forget what all we killed that day because you check them in later. We'll get into that, but.
You have to check them in.
You got to check them in. So yeah, at the end of this hunt, and as part of that permit zone, what you end up having to do is at the end of the hunt, you got to drive to a true check-in station where there's 1 or 2 biologists sitting there, and you just take them your geese. You got to show them your permit card, your license.
Yeah.
And then there's if I remember right, there was a card like where you had to fill in like your geese for that day. And you had to write all this stuff in. And then when you go into this check-in station, they would take like this bird and they weigh it, and they would take the bill length. They would measure the length of the bill. They actually had it looked like, I think they actually were like paint sample cards, like you'd go to Lowe's and get,
Yeah.
like the beige and browns and all this. Well, they might have made them themselves, and they would lay that on their chest. So they would get the color, the exact color, the bill length, the weight. And then these biologists would determine exactly what subspecies of goose you had.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, you're only allowed,
like
whatever it was, 2 cacklers and whatever. So you can tell the cacklers from the others. I couldn't, like the Aleutian and the Taverners, I couldn't tell you what the difference was. I'm not out there enough. Those guys kind of knew, they knew what they were shooting.
Yeah.
So yeah, then when that biologist, he would certify that a cackler. So on that bird right there, they run a little tiny wire. It looked like a little zip tie, but it was just a little piece of wire rope, we'll say. And then there's a piece of lead that goes on both ends of that wire, and they got a crimp. Crimps that lead onto the wire.
Yep.
And then that little seal, it was like a certified cackler. It said cackler on it.
Huh.
So you can't get any truer bird than a biologist certified cackler. And each bird got its own little seal. And they knew exactly what you had. So that's how they're checking for those duskies.
Oh, I got you.
And then, if somebody brings a dusky in, well, there's one off the quota, whether the quota is 1 or 10.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do this from memory also. I don't know how they let everyone know. You might have to check.
That was going to be my next question.
I think they post it like on the website or something. So like you need to just keep checking, and they keep those tallies running if the zone was totally closed down or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, like, how do they monitor that? Like, how do they?
And now they don't have to, because I just believe it's no dusky period.
No duskies at all.
But yeah, there was a way they would communicate to the hunters that it was shut down.
Wow.
I imagine website would be my guess. But
yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, because I'm just repeating what they told me.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember from 12 years ago.
I'm trying to think, like when you go there, can you just go to a station somewhere and get your tag and license? Because what I'm thinking is like, what if, like, I know here, you can still go to Walmart and get your stuff if you get there in time.
Right.
I mean, you can get your license just about anywhere, and then your stamps. You just got to make sure that you, depending on location, most generally people go to the post office, but there was a time where you could walk into Walmart and they had a box of stamps there that you could get there. Like, if in the event that a hunter does not utilize or have internet, like how would they know? Like, I'm just trying to think. Like, I know you don't have the answer to that.
I don't have the answer.
I'm just trying to think in my head, like how could they monitor that without? I don't know. It's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah.
And maybe they make it to where you have to have internet to purchase. I don't know.
There was at least a way to check, and you knew. Well, it had to have been internet based. There was a way to check and know where the quotas were and what counties were open and closed and all that. And But I know, like I said, you had to do your pre-hunt test, goose ID test. Well, that had to be done well in advance because you got mailed, those cards were mailed to you. Mm-hmm. So you had your little permit, you had your permit card that you was filling out daily with all your species and all that.
Yep.
So you had, and it's just like getting caught without your stamp. If you got caught hunting geese without your permit and your card and all that, it's a ticket.
Right.
So that had to be done well in advance so they had time to mail that to you.
Okay.
And once you did it, you're good for ever. I think it was 1996 on, you had to have that. And once you do it and pass it, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think I remember you had 3 chances to pass it, and then they like shut you down.
Really?
Like till the next year or something. So yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, you had to study a little bit just from the history aspect of it.
Have to study to go waterfowl
To
hunting.
go goose hunting, you had to take a test.
That is crazy.
I think that's the only time I've ever had to take a test on all the trips I've ever taken.
That's
And
crazy.
I don't know today if they still have all that going on since Dusky's just closed. I don't know if you have to take the test anymore or not. I should have looked that up, but
Hey, let me see. I'm gonna pull this up while we.
yeah, it'd be interesting to know if they still had all that going on.
Okay, let's see here.
And it's like that a lot of places you go. When you grow up with it, it's just natural, second nature. But a lot of these places that we go to hunt, the regulations just seem very confusing because you start getting into all these different zones and sections, and it's just from an outsider coming in just to freelance. A lot of these places, it's in Florida was like that. It was terrible trying to figure out where you could be, where you couldn't be.
Right.
Because you got special permits for the wildlife management areas, and you got it. There's just so many different places. Very confusing as an outsider.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yep.
Let's see here. The dusky goose is not formally protected under the Endangered Species Act, but there is an international coordination to monitor and safeguard dusky populations. Huh.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
Yeah. Did you ask if you still have to have a permit, a goose ID permit?
Let's see here. That's that's a nuisance species. Then it said Canada goose.
We all know that.
Yeah.
So the 7 species of geese in the Willamette Valley that we could hunt was the cackler, and the Aleutian, the Taverners, the Lesser, the Dusky, the Vancouver, and then the Western. Of course, the Dusky you weren't supposed to shoot.
Yeah.
And the Western would be kind of comparable to what we have here. They're a very large size goose.
Okay.
But yeah, like around here, we just shoot.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're what are they, we just call them the old stupid locals. I don't know if they're the giants or what they're actually considered. But we have killed some really little ones here over the years. Mm-hmm. I think we have true cacklers that we have shot a time or two. I know we've shot some lessers. There's a Richardson that comes through here once in a while. They're a very small goose. So yeah, there's quite a few subspecies. And then on the 41, when you're trying to kill the 41 slam,
Yeah.
the only 2 Canada geese that are listed are your big ones, like our local giants, and then the cackler, the tiny little one.
Let's see here. Oh, right here.
They don't make you shoot all the subspecies of them,
Here's some information. You do still have to take a test.
do you?
Yeah, it says, and then here's more information. The average time to take the test is 30 to 35 minutes. Does that sound right?
I
30,
don't
35
remember, but
minutes?
yeah, it took a little while to get through it. Yeah.
After you submit the test, you will be notified whether you have passed or failed. You have up to 3 chances per season to
There you
pass
go.
the exam with an 80% or better.
Yeah, I remember the 3 things was that when I took it, it was that way. You had 3 chances, then you had to wait.
You remember how many questions were on that?
I do not.
To score an 80% or higher, and you think if it's
I mean, it was, if you take a minute a question, that's 30 questions.
right,
Yep.
then that says.
And I remember it seemed like more than half of the test was nothing to do with ID and a goose, which was really weird.
Yeah, no kidding. Huh. Interesting.
And a lot of the ID that didn't make sense to me was just these pictures of geese standing on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's what the guys said. They're like, even though, that's why they told me if a goose just comes right into the decoys, don't shoot it, because that's what duskies do.
Yeah.
Because, lighting conditions are so variable.
Right.
And out there it's gloomy and cloudy all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know, unless you did it every day, it'd be very hard to tell all the different species, as they're coming in, That's why they just said don't shoot that one bird that's coasting.
That's very cool. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these pictures of these birds, and they are.
And a lot of, like I said, I was starting to say that on the test, a lot of the birds, the ID pictures, they would just have like 3 geese just standing like on a pond bank.
Yeah.
It was like real pictures. Mm-hmm. And like, which one is the dusky goose? Well, the one that looks charcoal black, right? Yeah. Well, that's totally different than flying in the air. So
right.
that didn't make sense. There was like not flying ID pictures. It was like just geese swimming and standing. And it's like not actual hunting situation. So that kind of didn't make sense either, but part of the test.
Huh. Very cool. Yeah, one of the things that it says right here is the sound. I don't know if they have a different sound in their honk, but
I don't know.
Oh, it does say make a different sound than other geese, unlike two-tone honk, like we're used to hearing, from our bigger honkers, or the loud bark or cluck, which I'm assuming of a cackler. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, right here is cackler. The dusky goose call sounds raspy and soft, like a moan. So I don't know, which I've also heard Canadas make low, raspy moans
a lot
too.
Of that, yeah. But those cacklers definitely do bark. Like that's a good description. It's just a real high, fast pitch.
Real quick, like an ankle biter bark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there can't be much sound that comes out of a small bird like that. When you think of a duck quack, it can't be much more than that. Because realistically, a big northern mallard is pretty close to the same size as what that is right there.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and can't see it, how long's that bill? An inch? Its beak's maybe an inch?
I was going to say, it's not very big.
Yeah.
If I were to see that bird, that to me looks like a bird that was hatched this year of our Canadas.
Driving,
you know what I mean?
So, driving here, I just came by the golf course.
Yes.
And there's just...
I saw him the other day.
I almost hit, like a group of 5 was walking across the state route.
Yep.
And there's babies. Those baby geese are bigger than that one right now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Sure. Yep. And there's a lot of banded ones out there. These guys just had lanyards full of bands. And so they banned a lot of these cacklers and a lot of net collars.
I wonder how often they travel. Like, do they travel? Do they migrate like Canadas?
Yeah. So these birds are coming out of Alaska.
Okay, that's right.
Most of the nesting is taking place in Alaska on a lot of those species. And then they're coming down and they're wintering in this in the valley. Mm-hmm. Eating the grass and whatever agriculture there is there, and then they go back up into Alaska. Mm-hmm. A lot of them go up into the interior of Alaska. The amount of wetlands up in Alaska is tremendous.
Yeah,
and this Copper River Delta that the earthquake really messed up. I think I was reading on that. Google that real quick. How big the Copper River Delta marsh used to be? Because I don't want to say, but it encompasses like
River Delta marsh.
It looked like it encompassed like 5% of the state or something. It was massive.
This is as of today. It looks like
right.
The Copper River Delta is the largest continuous wetland on the North Pacific coast, covering approximately 700,000 acres.
There you go. It is massive, and the amount of ducks and geese that get produced there is tremendous.
Oh, right there it is. As a result, I'm going to click on this because it talks about that.
Talk about the earthquake?
Yeah. The Copper River watershed drains about 24,000 square miles. Let's see here. Where's the Gulf of Alaska Delta? Where is that part? I literally just saw where it talked about. Oh wait, here. The Delta has 700,000 acres, shallow ponds. As a result of the 1964 Alaska earthquake, uplifted marshes and outwashed plains of freshwater streams and tidal channels along the coast. The Copper River settlement, along with those of the Scott, Sheridan, and Bering rivers, have also created 123,520 acres of mudflats that extend for 65 miles along the coast.
I remember in part of this, when that earthquake hit, 9.2 is just, like I said, it's the largest North America's ever received.
Right, yeah.
But they said it lasted 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. A 5 minute long earthquake is how long it lasted. And
Wow.
that's why it buckled stuff up 2 and 6 foot and just changed the whole topography.
Yeah. And there's so much that says these mudflats serve an important ecological function. I mean, they've got all kinds of different food for them to eat. Macoma clams comprise 90% of the biomass and constitute the primary food source for millions of migrating shorebirds. Each spring, an estimated 12 million shorebirds, the largest gathering in the Western Hemisphere, stop along the shores of the Copper River Delta on their way to more northern nesting grounds. 12 million.
That's a lot.
Could you imagine being a wildlife photographer and just hanging out on this
Right,
thing
right.
and the amount of different species
Yeah.
that you could photograph? Mm-hmm. Sheesh.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably read about this all day long. I better get off here.
That's
we got more important things to talk about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when you go on these hunts, there's, if you're into history just even a little bit, there's so much cool
Yeah.
stuff to
Yeah.
see and take in and learn.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. Copper River Delta. Most people probably never heard of it.
Nope. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really think about, too, where these birds go when they go. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, we don't really think about, and that's why it's cool with the 50 ducks thing. And, I mean, if we actually had a duck that moved, I
Right.
mean, that'd be really cool, but our duck has been in the same pasture for, months.
He's staying in
But,
Mexico all year.
He's not moving anywhere. But it's just cool. Like, we don't really think about when we're hunting, that bird that flew in, that left, or if they're coming from migration, like where are they going?
Right. A tremendous amount of the population of speckled bellies and snow geese are in Alaska. That's where they're nesting. Bluebills, pintails, tremendous amount are nesting up in the wetlands up in Alaska. Alaska is very, very abundant in wetlands.
So where do the let's take pintails for example.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they go when they leave Alaska? Like, because we see them here.
California.
Okay.
That population's staying, I think, on the western states. They're coming down through.
Right.
So after this hunt was over, we had days and days and days to kill. Mm-hmm. And he has a private duck club, and he says we can just go there and shoot ducks,
Right.
or we can go on this upland hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But the ducks there were a lot of widgeon, a lot of pintail,
Okay.
a lot of green-winged teal,
Okay.
mallard. Tremendous mallard hunting out there. Out there, you can kill 7 mallards a day.
Really?
Here, you can kill 4.
Right. Yeah.
So their duck limit's 7, but tremendous duck hunting opportunities out there
Wow.
too. It's a lot better than it is here. People think Arkansas for duck hunting. Go out west. It's a lot better. A lot better.
Jeez.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's move on to this upland hunt. I'm curious on this upland hunt.
This
Let's talk
hunt's
about
over.
this.
Like I
Yeah.
said, we shot a pile of cacklers. We did our thing. We was scheduled multiple days with these guys, but they're not really guides. They're just out hunting
Right,
with us. And
yeah.
they said, hey, if you want to hunt tomorrow, we'll hunt. We're going hunting. If you want to come along, come. Or go do your own thing.
Yeah.
So did it, done it. It's over, And Mark said, he said, I got a buddy who has access to a ranch. He said, it's a pretty long drive. We had to drive east. And he goes, but it's amazing upland hunting. And I said, and I loved upland hunting.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
upland hunted all over.
Right.
And I said, let's go do that. I said, I've shot enough ducks,
Right. Yeah.
So we loaded up and drove out, spent the night. And I think the guy's name was Murray. He had 2 pointers. And this ranch, I don't know the size of it. It was massive. Like we drove it, once we went through the first gate, we drove a mile just
Oh wow.
driving to even get back to where he wanted to start quail hunting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, I want to say 20-some thousand acres is the size of this ranch we was on. And the owner only allowed Murray to hunt, and he was only allowed to hunt upland birds.
Okay.
This guy was a staunch no hunting of big game on my ranch. Don't know why. He was just totally against it. And the amount of animals on this ranch, we were seeing mule deer that were just, you can imagine there's the size they grow
Oh, yeah.
to. When you hunt all around this place, but this
Yeah.
place isn't, it's a sanctuary.
Oh, sanctuary. Yeah.
And the other really cool thing we saw was the bighorn sheep. I guess,
Oh, okay.
I think there's Rocky Mountain bighorn, and then there's Colorado bighorn, or not Colorado, California bighorn.
Okay.
And I guess that's the subspecies in this valley that we was going to be hunting in.
Okay.
And so we did get to see them, and I'd never seen the bighorn sheep before. But yeah, we were actually trying to go after chuckers, and all of a sudden these rams just show up. They're a couple hundred yards. I mean, they're looking at you, and of course they take off. And Murray goes, "There's a really cool story about those rams." And what's up? He goes, "So the owner allows no hunting, period, none." And I guess there's a lot of these bighorn rams, because let me back up. We're hunting on the Deschutes River.
Okay.
So the Deschutes River is a canyon, kind of like the Grand Canyon. Think of that. So it's, when we're looking down, it's 900 to 2,600 foot down at any point to the bottom of this river. So it's just natural bighorn sheep territory.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's the terrain we're in. And he said, of course, the game wardens and biologists, they're all through here. They're always monitoring the bighorn populations and stuff. So they were actually on the owner. They said, you need to take some sheep out of here for healthy management, Nope, nobody's shooting my sheep. And the game warden, the one day he's in there and they're looking, and he goes, "You really need to take a couple sheep out of here. It'd be healthy for the herd. Nobody's shooting my sheep." And he said, "Do you realize these guys that are pulling these tags, it's a once-in-a-lifetime tag. Once you pull a tag, you can never pull one again. So it's truly once in a lifetime.
Right,
and the odds of pulling, it's like 1 in a million anyways."
Yeah.
He's like, "The guys that are pulling these tags, they will pay you. You can't name your price high enough. These guys are going to pay. If you told them $50,000, they're going to figure out a way to pay you $50,000 to shoot these, because his rams are just like the mule deer. They're just massive. Nobody's touching them.
Yeah.
Nobody's shooting my sheep. Don't care about the money."
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was just his philosophy. So the game warden comes back to him one day, and he goes, "We got a young boy." And I forget the age of this kid. He's like 10 or 12, but he's a young kid. He goes, "He just pulled one of these tags." He goes, "He's never going to pull another one in his life." He goes, "Is there any way?" His dad wanted me to come and ask you for him. "Is there any way you would let them hunt on your property, and the dad's willing to pay whatever trespass fee, you want?" And he didn't say no. And he's like, "Let me think about it."
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he comes back to him and he goes, "I'll tell you what, since it's a kid, we're going to let him shoot a ram."
Wow.
He goes, "Tell the dad they can come shoot one." He goes, "How much money do you want?" He goes, "No money." He goes, "He can come shoot a ram." So the dad comes in, and they spent an entire week. The dad did. He lived on this ranch, never left it for the entire week before season came in. And he had these sheep just patterned. He knew what they were going to do, and he was watching them. And the kid, of course, opening morning, they knew kind of where they wanted to be. The hunt went down. The kid shot a ram. And this goes back then. The guy said it was like the new state record ram for Oregon, this kid shot. And then the farmer just laughed, and he goes, "Yeah, but they never made it back to where the big ones are."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this ranch is just so special.
That's crazy.
And so we go into upland hunt, and you can shoot pheasants, chucker, Hungarian partridge, and valley quail. So here's your valley quail. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll turn it around. It's not a true California quail. It is a valley quail. There's a little bit of difference in the two, but they are just absolutely gorgeous quail.
Yeah.
So they got the big black top knot feather, and they're kind of a grayish blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, speckled bellies. And we had so much fun chasing those. He had pointers, so we go in, and he asked me what I wanted to really take, and I said, my trophy bird I want to take home out of this hunt's a valley quail. And he goes, "Perfect." So like I said, we drove in for probably a mile, and we get to this old homestead in there, just dilapidated, just like out west you'd think, falling down. And he goes, "These valley quail love these homesteads." He goes, there's going to be a bunch of them in here. And it had snowed, which is kind of unusual in this area to get they get dustings of snow, but not. And we had got like 9-10 inches. So it was really deep. It was kind of hard hunting, but the quail were holding great.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So the dogs were pointing. There was quail going everywhere. I mean, we saw hundreds of these things just in hours.
Do they blow up in cubbies like bob whites?
These didn't. Yes and no. You would jump a few, but you wouldn't have these big 20 bird coveys.
Okay.
I would say a very small coveys would go up, but I think, and I don't know if it was the snow had them different, but there's times you would look ahead, like I don't know it might have been sagebrush, something like that. And you could just see them sitting in that way up ahead, just sitting there, and they're watching you.
Yep.
But yeah, the dogs would go on point, and you'd kick them out, and they were fast. They were fun to hunt.
Yep.
And I remember I shot 6 times and killed 5 birds. So
wow.
I had I had the birds I wanted to get mounted.
Yeah.
So we hunted those, not a couple hours, I think we hunted those. And the pheasant season, we had just missed that. And we were jumping pheasants too at this homestead, and we couldn't shoot the pheasants. So then he said, I know where some Hungarian partridge are. So we went to do that. And we got into 1 covey of those. So I got a Hungarian partridge out of that. Got that mounted at home too. And he said the chuckers are the real prize. Like, he said they're hard to get, because now for the chuckers, they're living on those slopes that go down to the river. So you got to side hill those, and with the snow on like it was, he said we're going to go try it, but he goes, it might be too dangerous. He's like, just to keep your footing and stuff, it's going to be slick. So we got to a spot we was going to try for the chuckers, and when we went over the edge, you could see chuckers taking off, just jumping wild, and it was crazy. And they just soared all the way to the bottom and just out of sight. It's like, you're never getting those, right? So we're trying to side hill, and the dogs are slipping. We're slipping and sliding. It just got a little dangerous, a little too sketchy.
Oh, yeah.
So we called that, and he goes, well, there's another spot up here. There might not be as much snow. So I wish we could put the pictures of this up. So we're in Murray's SUV. There's 3 of us, the dogs, and he's going, and there's a fence, barbed wire fence, and then the canyon drop off right where we were at was like 2,000 foot.
Oh, wow.
And you got about 40 foot between the fence and this drop off. Well, it didn't look that bad, but when we're driving, all of a sudden he lost traction, and because the ground was a pretty good slope to the edge.
Yeah, okay.
He lost traction, and the whole truck or the SUV just started going sideways, like going straight to the canyon edge. And it stopped, and he turns his wheels, and he gives it a little bit of throttle, and every time we tried to climb up, it went closer to the edge, closer to the edge, closer to the edge. And finally, we're like, we got to get out of this thing. And he's like, get everything out that's valuable. He grabs his dogs. We grabbed our guns and our gear bags, and his truck is sitting probably 10 foot from the edge of this, and it's 2,000 foot drop to the bottom. Like, and when I say a drop, it's a drop.
Wow.
And I got pictures of this. We know we're not going anywhere. So luckily, we had his cell phone worked. So he called the rancher, the guy that owns this, and he said, hey, we're in a predicament here. Tells him what's going on. And the guy goes, I'll come get you. And he goes, don't bring a pickup truck, because you're not getting us out with a pickup truck. It's going to take something pretty major to get us out of here. So, of course, the rancher shows up with a pickup truck. And he tries to hook to it. Well, he starts going sideways a little bit. And he didn't get crazy. We unhooked, and he was able to get himself up out of there. He's like, I'll be right back. So he comes back, and now he's got the same pickup truck, but he's put a big round bale in the back of it.
Oh,
so he's got a little weight at least.
Yeah.
Still can't pull us out. And now, I mean, it just keeps getting closer and closer and closer to the edge. We're getting pretty nervous at this point. And the rancher's like, all right, just sit tight, I'll be back. And he's gone for a long, long, long time. And in the distance, you could hear this little bit of a clacking, clack, 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 clack.
Oh,
you could hear the tracks coming. Yeah. He's got a D5 dozer. He brings this D5 dozer. He's brought it in from miles away from wherever he came from. And we hooked this D5 dozer up. Now it just pulls us out like nothing, you know.
Right.
We got out of there. But if we didn't have that dozer, you'd have to wait till it thawed out, I guess, till the snow melted. We'd have never made it out of there.
Do you have pictures of any of this?
I do.
If you send them to me, I will. Yeah. I'll put them on here.
Okay.
I'll put them on the video. Yeah.
In fact, I just saw them on my phone last night.
Yeah.
I was looking back through, trying to find a date when this hunt actually happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a really cool picture of me with the one dog, with a boykin, just standing on top. I got, over and under over my shoulder. We're looking over the Deschutes River. It's you can tell it's 2,000 foot to the bottom.
Jeez.
And yeah, I got the SUV. And the picture doesn't do it justice. It just looks like it's a little tiny hill. It's getting ready to go over. Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's not.
Oh, that's crazy.
See, yeah, when you're standing there looking over that Deschutes River, like I said, we're kind of getting off the hunting, but I love the history of this stuff too. And you look down, and Murray was telling us that he's like, you see the river? Yep, you see the river. It's just, that river's just a little sliver from 2,000 foot up. And he's like, on this side, you see the railroad tracks? We're like, yeah, you can see. Yeah, I see the railroad tracks. And he goes, this was a really historic place for the railroad coming through. And he
Mm-hmm.
goes, these two big railroad tycoons had it out for, they hated each other's guts.
Yeah.
And the goal was to get to Bend, Oregon, to this untapped pine forest. They knew whoever could get to these pine trees, this was back in like 1908, whoever could get to these pine trees first and have the railroad to get it out, it's going to be even richer than they are, right? It's going to be like hitting gold. So these two guys brought in all these immigrants from overseas, and they're working them 24/7 trying to build these railroads. And they're on opposite sides of the river. And, you know, one's a little ahead of the other, one's a little ahead of the other.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where at night, these guys were sabotaging each other's railroad tracks.
Oh,
Like black powder's coming up missing. They're going to blow up their part of the track. They're coming over to blow up their part of the track. So whoever gets to the end first wins. And he said today you can still go down there where the tracks are, and you can still find like where they've hollowed out in the walls, like where these immigrants were living.
yeah.
You can still find their camp stove. You could still
Really?
find like the old pipes they were smoking. He said all these artifacts are still down there on the ranch because nobody's coming in there.
Right.
And yeah, he said there's just so
Gosh,
much
that
history
would be
down
cool.
there from. And then of course the one guy won, the other guy didn't. He got the contract for the railroad and lived happily ever after. From up where we were standing, I couldn't see it because of the snow, but he said normally you can come here and stand, and he said you can still see the circles where the teepees were
Really?
because there are Indian settlements down there. And he said there's just, from years and years and years and years, they just wore out. He said you can still see the teepee rings, like from people walking in there and around them.
That's wild.
So there's a lot of Native American history on this ranch, tons of arrowheads, all kind of stuff. But that river was just, that was their life source for trading and everything.
Oh, yeah, I
back
suppose.
in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just love going into the places like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, sometimes these trips aren't just about the
No, it's
hunting part of it. It's about the experience, the memories, the stories,
Yeah.
stuff like
Just
that.
like when you go up to St. Paul Island, you know, you're getting to experience all the crab boats like you see on TV. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much more than just shooting that bird. That's what you go for.
Yeah.
And you're disappointed if you don't get that bird, but there's so much more to experience on these hunts. And go back to turkey and deer hunting, you don't get a lot of this stuff
Right.
with those kind of hunts.
Yeah. Yeah, you really don't.
Yeah.
Mainly because you're spending your entire time chasing one thing.
Sitting in a tree for
Sitting
9
in a tree,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that ranch was something special. It was a really cool place. I'm glad we did. So we got done with that, and then we went. So we just hunted there a day, and then we went back and we hunted at his duck club for 2 more days before I went home and shot quite a few pintails,
Right.
mallards, and
Yeah.
teal, stuff like that. So
Very cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, do you have anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, we talked a lot about a little.
Yeah. Well, we actually, you know, and we
One little bird.
we got. I'm glad we got as far into that upland hunt as we did, because
Right.
we didn't know how long
Right.
we were going to be able to talk
How
about
long-winded
it.
I was going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't, but I'm glad that we were able to get that story in. Definitely looking forward to the next one. But is there anything else that you wanted to add or talk
think
about
so.
quick before we get off here?
No, but I'll get you those pictures.
Yeah,
And if we
yeah,
can put
do
those
that.
in,
Yes, do that.
it's kind of some cool pictures.
Yeah, if you can send those to me, then I'll get them in there. We'll be good to go.
Okay.
So,
But
all
I
right,
don't,
guys.
I don't know where we'll go next if we
don't-
do it again. I'm thinking we'll go to Massachusetts and do
Yeah.
like a big eider hunt or something.
See-
So we did eider and brant out there, and that was
Yeah.
pretty special too.
The funny thing is I don't even know what we're going to talk about
Till I show up,
until
right?
Eric shows up. like I said on the last couple episodes, like Eric goes through and puts these together for us, but I have no clue
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about. So it's just as much of a surprise for me as it is for you guys listening.
And if I don't put this outline together, I get lost. So it helps me stay on track.
Yeah. And and that's the thing. Like we do this, but we probably talked about 50% of what's on this page,
Right,
because
yeah,
things
yeah.
just kind of get off, and that's what we want. So, all right. Well, with all that being said, we are going to wrap this thing up. We are episode 17 into this thing, into the Last Flight show, and we've shortly after we started the show, we made that transition to more of a faith-based podcast. We still talk about what we enjoy, waterfowl hunting, things like that. But the amount of messages that we have gotten from all of you that have really, they have really highlighted what we wanted to do with this, and we do appreciate every one of your messages. We appreciate every one of your comments, your follows, your downloads, everything else. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that, just because it helps us understand, what you want to hear, what you like, and if there's requests on what you want us to cover, then please feel free to shoot us over a message, and then we'll get back to you, and we'll try to implement those kind of conversations into our future podcasts, because we want this thing to kind of be. We definitely want it to be enjoyable for everybody, but we kind of we like to involve people, and there'll be guests that we have come on here and stuff like that. And so it's really a good deal. But with that being said, I think we're going to wrap this one up, get some lunch, get this thing produced, and get it out to you on Monday morning. So, all right, before we wrap it up, anything else? Last words.
I think we're good.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to this episode, and we will see you on the next one.